of the evidence. A little bit higher standard is something called clear and convincing evidence. And then again, the highest standard is beyond a reasonable doubt.
I see.
The standard that the judge uses is actually a low one. For our purposes, we'll call it preponderance of the evidence.
Okay.
Now, what does that mean? Well, if you think about a scale, or, we look at from 1 to 100. When you show up in front of a judge, the scale is set at 50. Okay, it's like a coin toss. Who's going to win? 50-50.
Right.
And it's who can move the needle just a little bit so that the facts are on their side. So when the judge is trying to make a decision, who wins? If you look at it from the bank standpoint, well, you know what the bank's going to say. We lent the money. We're not getting paid. Here's our business records showing that we haven't been paid. That's all they're really going to show. Okay, but from the defendant's point of view, what can they show? Okay, if I'm the judge, or you be the judge, probably a question that you would want to ask the homeowner is, when's the last time you made your mortgage payment? Okay, because if it's not, I've paid off the loan.
That's probably the only clear, convincing defense you have.
Exactly, and if you can't show that, it's one thing to say it, but you have to be able to prove it. But if you can't show that, you can't prove it, likely the banks move the needle just enough so that the judge has to decide who wins, and the bank's going to win.
How about situations where the loan modifications, I know they're still happening, and sometimes we've had some problems with those situations, and maybe a homeowner has been working with a bank representative and they put them on a temporary program. I've heard this sometimes. People come to me, hey Greg, got behind 8-9 months, a year behind, and then working through the banks and explaining my hardship. A lot of times the bank has set up a temporary or probationary type of loan modification where the homeowners may be paying a payment or a payment and a half, trying to catch up, and depending on the performance of the homeowner, sometimes the bank will allow or grant a more permanent modification. Now, in a situation where a homeowner is relying upon a bank and they believe that they're dealing in good faith with the bank, and all of a sudden they get hit with a judicial foreclosure, and maybe they can say, well, listen, we had a temporary, would that tend to balance the scales a little bit, or is that they're still in default?
If they're in default, it doesn't matter, because the judge is just going to try to decide who wins. Even though the homeowner might have been working in good faith with the bank, and it could look like the bank wasn't doing good faith back with the homeowner, it still comes down to who should win. In other words, who's going to be able to keep that property, the bank or the homeowner?
Right.
And if the homeowner hasn't been paying, and here I know you're bringing up they're in some kind of temporary modification, it's a decision that the judge is going to make.
I see.
And likely, most people are not going to like the outcome.
No, it doesn't seem that it's much of a level playing field, because anyone who hasn't made their payments even for 1 month is technically in default. So they may not even be that far behind, but I know they still have to follow the notice period now. So if somebody's 1 or 2 months behind, they probably haven't got that much to worry about. When they get 3 or 4 payments behind, it's time to call an attorney, call a seasoned realtor, and get some advice early on, so you're not caught by surprise by one of these foreclosures, judicial foreclosures. Let's take, for example, somebody's watching the show and they're pretty nervous right now. Maybe they lost a job or became, disabled, or somehow or another income went down, and they want to keep their home, and maybe they're just barely treading water. I think they need to properly get a hold of you and ask for some advice and figure out a strategy ahead of time, because the landscape seems to be changing month to month. With the new legislation federally and in Nevada, some of the rules are changing a lot. And I know some of the mediation, before the cameras started rolling, we mentioned that there's been some changes in some of the procedures for mediation. And a lot of people, we can't probably emphasize enough how important it is to take advantage of the mediation and make sure the banks have the proper documentation, and at that point maybe we can prearrange a disposition that's more favorable to the homeowner, whether agree to a short sale, which is far less painful.
Well, when it comes to homes, really people fall into two camps. Either they're trying to keep their house, or they're trying to find a way how to gracefully exit their house. And there are a number of programs that are available to help homeowners that are struggling, no matter which camp they fall into. Here, the scenario that you brought up is somebody that, for whatever reason, they've missed a payment or two, or several. We can even say they haven't made payments for a year and a half. There are still programs that are available for somebody that wants to keep their house. I mean, here, for the type of law that I practice, I do bankruptcies. And in doing bankruptcy, and I do mortgage issues, there's a way of combining different strategies together to end up with a favorable outcome. I mean, it could be for homeowners that have more than one mortgage. Maybe the problem is they can't afford to pay both. So that if we can strip away one of the mortgages, and here we're really talking about the second mortgage, that might be where we free up some income, or free up an expense to allow the mortgage to be paid. However, if the person's gone for a number of months without making a payment, maybe the bank is saying, we can't accept the payment anymore because we've accelerated the loan. Well, then it becomes, how do we make the homeowner current so that there are no what are called arrears? Well, sometimes you can combine bankruptcy to take care of the arrears, even if we just do it temporarily. So some clients might want to enter a bankruptcy without actually completing a bankruptcy, just to buy them the time and to put them in a position to have something favorable work out with the bank. So there are strategies that can be employed to allow people to take, I was going to say take advantage, but not to game the system, but to utilize the programs that are there for individuals. I mean, I'll give you an idea. One of the great programs that's available for homeowners that are not struggling, but would like to see their mortgage, we'll say their payments reduced, is the HEART program. That's where you refinance your house to the current market rates, the traditional way, except there is no appraisal that's needed. So the fact that your house is upside down, everybody just turns the blind eye and allows a refinance to take place. However, with the HEART program, you can't be behind in your mortgage payments.
You need to be current.
You need to be current. And, you know, if you look up the rules for it, it says you can't have missed like one payment in the last 12. Really what they're saying is you got to be current. For somebody that, let's say they were down on their luck, they've missed a year and a half worth of mortgage payments because they lost their job. Well, now they're reemployed. Well, now the bank won't take their mortgage payment because they've accelerated the loan. It could be for a person like that, maybe the idea is to figure out how to make them current, and once we get them current, how to refinance, like through the HEART program, their mortgage to get a reduced payment. That's not actually a loan modification. This process actually would work faster. For someone that's trying to do a traditional loan modification, that process could take 9 months to go from start to finish. Sometimes a little bit shorter, sometimes a little bit longer. But that's a 9-month process with the stress of not knowing what's ultimately going to happen.
I see. And if some of the viewers are interested in doing the HEART program, I have some lenders that I work with on a regular basis, and they've been very successful in helping people. So you can always reach my office, Encore Commercial Realty, at 561-7454. And what number is a good number to contact you should our viewers have questions and strategies that they would like to discuss with you, and maybe they're looking ahead, and maybe a bankruptcy or a loan modification or mediation maybe in
If any of the viewers would just like to talk, I give free consultations. A lot of people just want information. If they'd like to reach my office, I can be reached at 702-987-3030.
987-3030. And I know a couple of my clients that were very happy. I won't mention their last names. John and Sonia called, and I think their second got wiped out, and they were really pleased. And I think some of the stuff that Bank of America was doing just took away some of their mortgage, and they were able to stay in their home longer. And again, just by eliminating that second mortgage or the third mortgage, Now, some of our viewers may not realize if they have a limited income and you can only pay first or second mortgage, wouldn't it be more prudent to keep the first current because the seconds will settle for less of a payoff in the event of a short sale? I mean, because they're not a primary. I'm not saying they should avoid the responsibility in the second, but if it came down to it, you have to pay one or the other. I've seen some people keep their seconds current and let the first go bad.
Well, if somebody has a situation like you've described, what they need to do is they need to talk with an attorney to find out all the different options that are available to them and how to fix their particular financial situation.
Okay. So again, the consultation is excellent, especially with the free consultation. I know all the folks that I recommended to you had good results. I've seen you have principal reductions, large principal reductions come through your office and helped a lot of people. And some of the folks that didn't go to you went to other attorneys. I know they did the results weren't as favorable. So I can personally endorse you and recommend you. And it's so nice to have your office available. And you can call Miguel. I know he picks up his phone every time I call him. He picks up his phone, and he's always there. He's very committed. And I do thank you so much for joining us today. And I know it's good to have a source of help and for folks that need good counsel. And appreciate you coming in. I know I've been trying to get Miguel in for a while, and it's been a real pleasure having you today. And is there an email address or something? Folks that some people like to text and email. Is there for your office contact?
They'd like to reach me by email. My email address is mlopez@lopezbklaw.com.
Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, appreciate you coming today. And all you folks who are watching today, we are the experts of Southern Nevada, and we're here every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. We invite you to come in next week. Come join us in our conversations. We have a lot of knowledge to share with you, a lot of compassion, and we look forward to seeing you again next week, 5 o'clock, Channel 17. Thank you so much for viewing, and we'll see you next week.